minds, open hearts, and a curiosity for new perspectives, that willingness alone is powerful. And I also want to remind you, before we get all good in it, is that this conversation doesn't just stop here. Please join us for our next Thread event as we continue building toward our collaboration conference in April. These quick and dirty gatherings, these Thread gatherings, weave our last event with the next and give us the opportunity to continue the conversation, share ideas, strategies, and just plain get to know one another better. Make sure to RSVP now. Lori is somewhere around here. You can, for our collaboration conference in April, where these ideas will come together in an even bigger way through connection, creativity, and collective action. Okay, and now it's my time to introduce our amazing speaker today, Keith Campagna. Let me give you a little background on Keith here. He's amazing. Okay. He's a growth strategist, speaker, and founder of Lifework Integration. Keith helps purpose-driven leaders move beyond burnout and work-life balance by aligning their work and lives into one powerful flow that fuels impact, clarity, and momentum. With years of experience working alongside leaders across industries, Keith is known as an agent of change who brings creativity, optimism, practical strategies that help people do their best work without losing themselves in the process. His flow-based approach has helped founders grow mission-driven organizations past 7 figures, we like that. Even through the pandemic. Today, Keith works with small businesses and community leaders nationwide to create clarity, sustainability, and results that last. He's also a devoted dad and a founder of wellness retreats designed to help people reset, reconnect, and return ready to serve with purpose. So please join me in welcoming Keith Campagna.
All right, folks, here it comes. This is amazing. I want to thank everybody, all of you magical miracle makers. I want to thank, of course, the council, Tanya, Lori, Michelle, Krista, all of you. This is awesome. Thank you for thinking of me to do this. The crew here, we got Selena, Mark, Shelly, Will, David. This is super cool. I can't believe we're standing on the stage, and I think I heard we sold out, so thank you, everybody, for coming. This is going to be fun. I got a bit of a limp. I turned 50 in December, and for all of you that are above 50, you're the one laughing. I instantly found the pair of crutches that I needed, so thanks for accommodating me here. Who was here, show of hands, who was here for the time Connor spoke during the flow? All right, quick rule, house rule. When I say hands up, I want like hands up. All right, everybody, hands up. All right, good, now I know where the energy level is. Okay, so Connor helped us understand the concept of float as he tied it into. Connor, if you don't know, is the founder of Reset Outdoors. This is a fantastic organization that helps people. Let me get my clicker started here. Nice, I remembered. All right, it helps people reconnect their personal energy so they can be more creative by leveraging, I don't know, outdoors. Right, speaking to what Tanya says, it helps take care of you. And one of the elements that we went through during that conversation had everything to do with awareness of how you're doing. And then he spoke in wonderful terms about elephants hiding in trees, and if you were outside long enough, you would actually get the chemical changes and the emotional changes that are equivalent, they're better than most pharmaceuticals out there. So it's that awareness theme that I'm going to pull through here, and then my goal by the end of this is that you become ultra aware of how you could use flow so that you could create the life that you truly want. And I'm not sugarcoating that. All right, but in order for me to do that, we have to come to an agreement. The name of today is Unlock a Fresh Way of Thinking. So to do that, we have to assume something's locked. And look, folks, I didn't come here to unlock a fresh way of thinking. You did. So I need you to help. So we're going to do our first group flow thing to start things off. I need everybody to put your arms out like this. Okay. I want you to think of a giant basket like this. When you get the image in your head, close your eyes. And what I want you to do is I want you to think of all of the biases and the stresses about work and life and love and kids and everything and the world. And I want you to put it in that basket. And when you're done, I want you to open up your eyes and put the basket down next to you. No one's going to take it. And when we're done, you can pick it up and take it with you. All right. The key element here is that when I talk about flow, this is not the late night TV ad. This is not woo-woo. I'm a little bit woo-woo. I'll take it. This is neuroscience backed by behavioral science with excruciating focus on results. So I'm going to wrap all that in for you there. But a little bit about me. Thank you for that. I got divorced 10 years ago. And when I got divorced, I became the dad who had his kids 80% of the time. And so these were my kids at that age. And at that moment in my life, I was selling software, working from home. And if anyone's ever been divorced, that makes for a tough office life if you work from home. So my results were dropping, my marriage was ending, and in order for me to recapture the life that I now had available to me, I needed to settle into what it was I sincerely wanted. And what I sincerely wanted was to raise 2 teenage boys so that they could be strong men. And I'm more than happy to tell you that I accomplished my goal so far. I got a freshman in college, I got a junior at Southern Lehigh, right? But the point is that I was laid off 18 months after my divorce happened. And I was not interested in being someone else's stressor. I happened to be one of the top reps. An insurance or an investment firm came, deleted half of the spreadsheet, and I was done dealing with other people's stresses. So I decided I was going to do my own thing. If there's 2 things I'm okay at, it's sales and mindset. So I started working with a software company, and during COVID, launched them over $1 million of revenue. It was 2 founders and me. And for those of you not involved in software, the $1 million marker changes the game for the company. Since then, while COVID was happening, I started to consult CEOs all over the world because it's not easy doing work, especially during COVID. As Tanya mentioned, I'm the growth officer at Accounted For. Accounted For works with small businesses and helps the owners master cash flow. I'm serious, folks. I dove into this flow thing and it's working. It's the second company I've helped take over $1 million in revenue. We're actually curving towards $2 million. This is the fun rocket ship. So my point is that you can work hard, have fun, stay focused. Oh, and by the way, along the way, I have my own music venue at my property where we have acts from all over the country at $20 a ticket. By the way, it's totally unofficial. Thank God there's no noise ordinance in Upper Saucon. The point is that I'm doing exactly what I want. And at the very same time, I have 2 retreats in the making. One of them happens to be 25 minutes north of Jim Thorpe, who wants to do some retreat work with a 30-foot waterfall in front of him. I also have a property in Costa Rica. Technically, it's my friend's property, but I'm on the board of directors. The goal here is to have a place for people to go and truly reconnect with Earth, get out of whatever mayhem they might be in, and truly feel better coming back. I mention this to you because flow is probably the thing amongst all the other things and people that were there to help me, the thing that got me here. And so flow is something that you can do. You don't have to be a peak performer. You don't have to be the CEO. It's for everyone. And with that being said, who here, raise your hand high, knows anything about flow? Oh man. All right, great. The next few statements that I'm going to share with you are true. The first one is that flow is free. How's that? I'm standing on a stage, a career salesman, not selling you anything. You don't have to buy anything. Flow is free. Flow, as it turns out, is uniformly described as when you feel your best and you perform your best. And here's the kicker. When the research was being done all throughout the world, between the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today, the reason why it's called flow is because it was consistently described by everyone as the motions and the actions that you take would simply flow from one to the next. In other words, no resistance, no stress. So what's it feel like? Because the funny part is not 10 of you raised your hands, but I bet you've all had flow. Who here loves music? Yeah, great hands, folks. Who here loves painting? Who here loves cooking? Who here loves loving, right? Time flies when you're having fun is the actual representation of when you're in flow. Michael Jordan used to say the basketball hoop looked this big, right? What happens is time goes away. You become engaged with what's in front of you. You feel really good, and as it turns out, you do your best work. So now I'll ask, who here is familiar with flow a little bit? Right on. Keep in mind, this is accessible to you. Okay, we're going to do another, this is going to be fun. Everybody say it with me. Me high, sing set me high.
Me high, sing set me high.
Not bad. One more time. Me high, sing set me high.
Me high, sing set me high.
All right, folks in the back, ready? Everybody. Me high, sing set me high. All right? Like that? Me high, sing set me high is known as the godfather of flow. He finished his career as the person in charge of the Department of Psychology at the University of Chicago. Lehigh took the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. He just died last year or the year before. Going around everywhere, trying to express to people what it is that flow does. And what he wound up going all over telling people was that it's measurable, definable, and universal. Can I get that? Yeah. What that means is that it's real. It's a real thing. It's not woo-woo. It's not a late night TV ad. All right, so what exactly happens? So you know how we all have a brain? And it's all basically, when I were to say to you, where's your brain? Most people start here. They don't start back here, right? That's our prefrontal cortex. That's where your ego lives, in case you were curious. When you have an ego, it looks like this. You're constantly doing everything, processing, trying to figure out what to do, what's wrong, what's right, up, down. I don't have to preach too long about that. When you go into transient, hypotransient frontality, your brain drops. It slows down. The part of your brain that's activated shuts off. And all of the energy that your brain uses to keep that brain of yours going goes away to the back of your brain and opens up networks that you never knew existed. That's why things feel better when you're in flow. It's like your brain, that voice shuts off and your brain goes, thank God they shut up. Now we can get work done. Okay? So, there are 22 triggers, as it turns out, that Lehigh discovered through his journeys that actually allow you to produce flow. When I was talking to the council and I was all excited about doing this talk, I was like, this is great, this will be an hour presentation. More like 45. Could be 30. So now I'm like sweating, trying to figure out, so we're doing great, so I feel good about this. And I'm not gonna go through 22 trigger events. I'm gonna go through 3. These 3 are probably the easiest ones to start to recognize. Again, spoiler alert, you're already doing it. My hope is to bring your awareness up to recognize that you can move and build from your own momentum and consistently feel your best and perform your best. Who wants to work on feeling their best and performing their best in those 26, yeah? Okay, so, number 1, awareness. immediate feedback. Right, we talked about that a little bit. Number 2, the challenge, skill, balance. In other words, there's a little bit of a process here, folks, that's happening, but we're going to bring it to light and we're going to help you see how you can consistently drive it. And the last one, and the most important one so far as I'm concerned, is knowing what you want. Having a sense of goals that you're looking to accomplish. This time I am going to have some more. Okay. Number 1, we're going to do a test to test your awareness. During this test, totally remember the pieces of paper. I'm channeling my inner Connor right now. The pieces of paper that you have, if you brought pens, great. If you did bring pens, share them, but the idea is to take notes, maybe put them in your phone and use them. My goal is to get to the right side of the top page that has all the questions on it. I want to walk you through the exercise so you can take it home with you. The second page is for me, which I appreciate. It's a feedback form. I want to know how this hits with you in terms of the messaging, the content. If you want to learn more, technically speaking, I'm relaunching Lifework Integration today. If you want to keep up, I'm doing a bigger presentation in the not too distant future. It'll be the 90-minute version. If you want me to keep in touch with you, give me your information. If what you like, if you like what you hear so much, you want to have an actual conversation about it, whether it be personal or professional, feel free to use the QR code. I'm not trying to charge anybody anything. I'm here to help. I love the Lehigh Valley. Let's do this, people, all right? But back to the test. This test is going to ask 2 questions. When you hear the answer for the first question, I want you to raise your hand real high if you got it right. Now I need you to be quiet and don't be shouting out the answer. Not because I don't want to hear your voices, it's because the second question comes right away. And if you got the answer to the second question right, keep your hands up. If you don't, then put your hand down real quick. All right? Okay, here we go.
This is an aware.
Hold on, I'm gonna make it. Oh, you can see it all right? Let me make it a little bit bigger. I practiced this part, folks. Okay, ready?
Awareness test. How many times does the team in white pass the ball? If you answered 13 passes, you are correct. But did you see the moonwalking gorilla?
If I had a bump me or didn't, maybe I'd move more right now. Okay. What did we learn? I didn't see a lot of hands up, for what it's worth, at the second question. But one of my favorite questions is, what did we learn? What we learned was that when we are paying attention to something, and when we're focused, and we're seeking a goal, layers of flow triggers, we get dialed in, and we don't see what's around. That's called focus. And folks, flow follows focus. And when we talk about focus in the good old US of A, and maybe globally, we can all admit that there's some sort of a sad truth-taking form that our focus is being destroyed and put to a gazillion different pieces. And while most people consider that a pretty good framework for a problem, I want to unlock a fresh way of thinking for you today and remind you, when there's a problem, there's an opportunity. So what's the opportunity for the people in this room? If you can focus a little bit more, get that level, that attention in, just like you didn't see a grown man in a gorilla suit moonwalking, you won't see, you'll start to not see a lot of things, and you get more work done. You're more engaged in your family and your friends. This is the trend where you start feeling a little bit at a time more productive and more accomplished. And when productivity and accomplishment turn into a habit, guess what happens next? You feel better. And that's how you start to develop better health. Who here in 2026 wants better health? Who here wants their organization to have better health? What about the patients and the clients you serve? People in the back, I'm watching you. I want those arms up when you mean them. Which takes us to the next trigger, the challenge skill balance. Here's the really good news. If you had a task in front of you and it was too easy, what happens to your brain? It gets bored. You get distracted. What happens if the task is way too hard? You give up. You get frustrated, your brain starts telling you all the things about how you're not any good and you're a bum, and then all of a sudden it's a wash. 4% is the number in which you want the challenge to meet your skill set. So if we were going to work on focus as a challenge, start simply by taking the phone away from you while you work for 4 minutes every 100. You guys probably start 5, maybe even 10. Now we're gaining that momentum of flow. And remember, you are not, I look in this room and I see people that are doing remarkable things for remarkable people. This is not a late night TV ad. You have communities you serve, you have employees that you serve, you have friends, you probably even maybe have a family you're trying to serve. These kind of tactics will help you get better everywhere. That's why it's called Lifework Integration. Turns out, flow is a cycle. Again, because it's tangible, they've been able to break it up, and we're going to walk through that. Right, I got time too. All right, number 1 is struggle. This is where you start to overload your brain and that ego starts to come. A very easy example of this might be, who here has ever lost their car keys? Right? The hands are getting a little low here, folks. We're here for the presentation, right? Thank you. So you lost your car keys. One of 2 situations present themselves. I might be projecting a little, but follow me here. You start yelling at everybody in the house. The dog hides. The children have no idea. You start looking at the dog as though the dog might have taken the keys. And then everyone scrambles. All of a sudden, someone finds it. They throw it to you, maybe a little bit too hard. You leave upset because you're a few minutes late and everyone in the house is aggravated and glad you left. Hypothetical. Option number 2. I can't find my keys. I know my car's in the driveway, so I gotta assume the keys are here. I know I put them somewhere. I'll just let it come. And then what happens? You ever forget a name? Right? Right, Jerry? What happens when you just say, I know it's in there, I'm not going to force it out. Boom, you release. And all of a sudden, that energy transfer takes place. And again, the takeaway here is that it's your ego that shuts up. And then, because that release, the redistribution of energy, you're in flow. And now you're doing things. More importantly, you're aware of how that you're doing things and it feels good and it just drives you through here. Now the better or the not so good news is that flow takes up a lot of brain work. And you can only, after all the research and after all of the things that they've looked at flow, you basically can max out at flow for 90 minutes. Now, McKinsey did a study. 500% is the number that you could gain efficiencies with. And there are companies that we all own and use that leverage flow in their workforce. There are companies on the shorelines all over the world that allow for surfing time. Tide comes in, you go out there. The act of surfing dips you into flow. Anyone here ever surf? No? Well, great. What are you doing? You're on a board in water. You're in flow. Your awareness is there. The challenge skill set is there, or you fall off, right? Then they come back clear and ready and creative to do more work. So if you think about it, 500%, you can do a flow session in the morning, 90 minutes, then you take a walk in the outdoors, where's Connor? You do something that clears your mind, re-energizes you. Folks, the things that recover us in flow are the things that it's cool to be an adult to do. Sleep, good diet, talk to friends, cook, music, theater. That's the recovery. And the more important part is that when you've gone through a big event at your company or at home, a birthday party, whatever, what happens when you're recovering? You're reflecting. You're learning. And in this day and age, what do we hear? We hear about grinding. We hear about multitasking. Do not get me started on multitasking. And we hear about work-life balance. And none of that will get you the results that you're aiming to get, except for flow, better than flow. And the part, you magical miracle makers, the nonprofit business partners, I want you to understand is that the reason why you have to start recovering and taking care of yourself is because the struggle is coming. There's no getting out of these rules. This is not a late night TV ad. This is a woo-woo. You want to have a better life? You got to accept that the struggle's coming. And if you want, you could just get barreled over, or you could start leveraging flow and feeling better. Cool? Okay. This takes me to my favorite part. Having clear goals is the thing that you need to have. You need to have, we talk about focus and what's in front of you, triggers flow. But having a sense of where you're going with it is the main trigger, is another main trigger. And here is where you non-profit business partners are better off than you think. Because as it turns out, passion outproduces profit all day long. Having a sense of your passion, your purpose, will enhance yourself as well as your organization more so than any other flow trigger compared to people trying to make money. One of the fun catchphrases I came to use with Lifework Integration is that the health of any organization is inherently tied to the organisms working within it. And that's your bodies, and that's your businesses. All right? Which, if I'm going to combine awareness and challenge skills balance, not know what you want, I want to, because of your role in the community, every single mission statement here is a flow trigger. And this slightly different way of thinking about it is the thing that I hope you can bring back and really put in front of your people, because they should know that they're capable of doing really great things and feeling great. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Now, that brings me to the number one villain in the story, so far as I'm concerned. Who here, show of hands, who here has ever heard of work-life balance? All right, raise your hand if you know where the term ever came from. Right? Anybody here know anyone who's got work-life balance? Does anybody know why that's the case? Say it with me, because there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's a ghost. It's a failed corporate policy that started in the 70s, and if you come to my other presentation, I'll tell you all about it over a little while of time. The point is that here you are. You are balancing like this all the time. And is life getting faster or slower? Faster. So you're going up and down, and we are not static, in spite of my crutches being here. I'm not static. I'm moving. And if you catch up and down over space and time, it looks a lot like that. A high stress EKG, ECGK monitor. One of those monitors. My mother's a retired nurse, so I should know this. Now, if we took that over a 24-hour period, your energy is going up and down like this. So if I was going to tell you flow is like this, that looks like flow, right? If we took that EKG and stretched it out over a 24-hour period that we were in flow, how much more energy are you consuming every single day? More than you know. Lifework Integration is the free-flowing exchange of energy and ideas between your life and your work. I say life because I think life is more important than work. Yeah, I said it. And the thing that's keeping you and everybody, so far as I'm concerned, for feeling their best and performing their best has everything to do with work-life balance. And so what I came up with, because as I was getting a divorce and as I was getting laid off, the things that I was doing to keep myself in flow was working. I took two companies over $1 million during COVID. Everyone else was crashing. I'm not saying it was because of me, I'm saying it was because of flow. Right? It's impossible to, no person does anything on their own. So this is the path, I think, to get from a work-life balance mindset to a life-work integration mindset. And there's a story here. The first part is about awareness. It's about increasing your own sense of self-awareness. I love that beginning, Tanya. It's true. You deserve it. Man, you guys deserve it. And it starts with the idea of understanding what you truly want out of a life you sincerely want to live. That's it. If you look at the right side of the page, there are questions treated. If you're thinking about your life, the question is, what kind of life do I sincerely feel I want to live? If you're thinking about your work, the starting question is, what's the problem I'm looking to solve? And that opens up our ability to figure out what we want, because with all that stress, if I were to ask you what you really want out of life you feel sincerely worth living, it'll take you some time, because you probably don't know because of everything going around. And you wouldn't be alone. Most people don't. But when you ask them, you press, you know what happens? You sure do. They go, let me tell you what I don't want. I don't want that guy, and I don't want this thing, and I'll be damned if this is going to happen to me. We are way more concerned about the things that we don't want than we pay attention to the things that we want. Because we're human. It's kind of a human dilemma. Right? So the reason this is the case is because we have a reticulating activation system in our brains. It is the very thing that has helped us all survive, and at this point we're on the stage at the State Theater. It's there to tell us what's wrong so we don't die. And here we are in heating, thank goodness, for the staff, not dying. But as we all know, there's plenty of things to concern ourselves about, right? So the idea here is to understand what makes you tick, and that you have control in what it is that that external source does to you internally. And that's when we get to the balance piece here. We're talking about balance. We're not talking about work-life balance. We're talking about breathing, free. We're talking about meditation, free. I want to ask the fine people in this room, does everyone here breathe? Yes. Okay. Can everyone here spend 1 minute a day silently breathing? Yeah? I don't see everybody nodding their head, do I? That's what it takes. Do you deserve to feel better all the time? Do you want to perform your best and lead and love and all the good stuff that comes with this idea? The answer is yes. Then unlock your way of thinking and start these habits. It's pretty simple. It's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. And when it comes to breathing, albeit, I think no one here will mind if I use the name Joe Rogan, but he's a comedian. Before he blew up and became like the person he is today, he's a comedian. And one of the things that he would say is, like, there was a conversation about breathing techniques. And he made this, he just, in a Joe fashion, he's like, man, breathing's been going on for a while, huh? And he didn't realize he said it in that context. But it's true, breathing's been going on for a while. The way we move breath through our bodies disrupts the energy and changes it. From the bottom is the root chakra, and for the sake of just putting it out there, it's where your butt is, right? So if you ever want to pay attention to your root chakra, think about your butt. Pretty easy stuff, right? And then the heart chakra is green, and that's where you breathe out of. You can pull your air in through your lungs, you can pull it down through your the top chakras. This is high energy, this is low energy. You store stress here. Everybody has stress. Something I want you to remember. In business and in life, there's no such thing as no stress. You don't want a straight line, we know what that means, right? The opposite of stress in life and business is creativity. So by unlocking the stress in your body, you're going to become more creative in life and in business. And now a funny thing happens. Because you've started to feel better from the inside, because you've started to breathe and be quiet for a minute, you start to see clearly in your mind. The reason why nobody meditates is because everybody hates what happens when you do. Because the monkey minds just go crazy, don't they? Right? I'm here to tell you there's nothing wrong with it. I'm certain it feels uncomfortable. I've done it. But if I told you that when I was going through my process, I was literally 9:30 on a Tuesday morning, perfectly good working hours to be meditating. I was going through my own little breathing practice, got into my meditation, and the phone rang. It was one of the founder of the ROI shop to tell me that he really liked seeing the email we got. And the email was from a client, a prospective client, March of 2020. I'm sorry, June of 2020. Telling us that we were the only software they were buying the whole year. That became the largest deal that the software comes, $250,000 deal. A year later, the software worked. They tripled down. A company that had less than $500,000 in revenue now had one contract worth $750,000. I'm not telling you that this is linear. I'm telling you this is magical. Once you start generating the energy inside of you to reflect things like gratitude and the good things you want, you go to phase 3. I know what I do want. What does everybody want? To feel their best and perform their best, and this is where flow comes in. Now you're leveraging all of the focus because you feel better, you're seeing it happen. And then over time, and not a lot of time, you get to phase 4, which is where the juice is. It's the I know, I don't know what I know phase. And it's my own little shot at a koan. It's supposed to make you think a little differently. The idea here is that, no lie, folks, this is what it means to me. I was literally thinking about turning Lifework Integration back into my main project because my kids grew up. I've got the space and the time. I want to see what I can do with it. I'm excited to be here. 2 days later, Michelle from the council calls me and says, hey, we brought your name up during a flow conversation. How'd you like to present? Again, this is where the magic is. It's insane. I'm standing here telling you about it, but I know I don't know what I know. And just like flow cycles, this is a working piece. You can consistently keep moving forward. And this is where the neuroscience and behavioral science comes into play. But flow, as an example, I have a CEO client software company in the travel industry, which during COVID didn't exactly play out as well as they hoped. He had shared with me that by thinking in terms of Lifework Integration, he got, in 18 months, more out of his purpose in his life and all things considered than he did 10 years working with another coach. I think that's because when you're in a work-life balance mindset, you can't get through the mud. So, when you're thinking about this, please utilize these. You can use these questions in life and at work. The more important one is, and we'll walk through it, the 5 whys. 5 whys are going to help you start with an idea and then really get into what's driving your motivation. I had a client of mine come back to me after her first exercise and she's like, I want a divorce. Right? Like, this is the kind of stuff, because when you get to the 5 whys, the real reason why you want to be doing something, ask yourself the question, what did I learn? This opens up dialogue, and then from there, what's the specific next step? And then set it up to do it. And the 5th question, how can I help? That comes from me wanting to know how I can help you. But you should also ask yourself, what is it that I can do to help me take the next step? Cool? All right. Lori, I'm going to throw her under the bus. Lori told me I had to give you homework. So I'm going to give you homework. I'm standing here on a stage. I've done plenty of presentations. I used to sell software. At the end of the presentations, I go, who here is interested in doing anything about the problem I just mentioned? And like 3 people would say yes, maybe. Right? I've learned that my presentation isn't going to get you to do anything. You are. Now I assert that you should all get into flow. And I assert that you'll love it. And I assert, if you start thinking about who you want to become, you can get there faster and have more fun leveraging flow. But your brain is going to tell you no. The hardest thing about all this is you got to unlock that brain of yours. So here's your homework. Who here brushes their teeth? I wasn't sure I was going to ask that. I said, doesn't brush their teeth. I get people. When you brush your teeth, use your non-dominant hand. That's your homework. You might bang your gums a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But pay attention. You're hacking your brain into doing things completely differently. And once you get that crack in the door, you can make new habits faster. You all breathe. You could spend 1 minute breathing in silence. You all think. So when you're thinking about things, instead of thinking about what could go wrong, when you're aware that you're thinking about things that could go wrong, recognize that as an opportunity to start thinking about how blessed you are. And if you're not certain that you're blessed, a whole bunch of people died yesterday. You didn't. Start there. Just start there. Not a high lift. Not a high lift. Funny enough, these are the habits that will help you change your mind. And that's all I got for you. I think I did it under 45 minutes. Rumor has it, we're going to get drinks. And I can answer questions now if you like, but we figured there might be some questions that people would ask. So when we're out in the lobby, I'll have a mic and they'll be passing around a mic if you want to do, like maybe if you want to stay in the back and network, cool. If you want to get more into a conversation, cool. I certainly, if you have any questions now, I'll take them. We got a couple minutes. And please, thank you for filling out the form.